What up, everybody, and welcome back to another fantasy football edition. Uh, Another fantasy football edition of Stat Lines Matter. Is me and my partner Anthony Lukasik. We are down one more week. Mark Stewart will be back hopefully next week, but we are about to get into it. Week 9. How did you make out last week, Anthony?
I did pretty good. A lot of my teams are bouncing back. We're doing pretty good. I've been on a tear lately. My teams are doing good, man. We had a good week last week.
Awesome,
How about you?
awesome.
How'd your
And
DFS go?
before we get started, I forgot. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe. That helps us out a ton. And you can follow us on all of our platforms. If you're tuning in just for the first time, Stat Lines Matter is a weekly podcast. We normally put a podcast out once a week, and it's available on all major platforms. That's Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. So we're there weekly, and we also put out content daily on on Facebook and Instagram. So make sure to give us a follow. That's at statlinesmatter. Last week I did pretty good myself. I won on college football. I won, and this is DFS we're talking. I won DFS on college football. I won DFS in NFL, and then I won we won I managed a team for another gentleman, so we won that game as well. So not anytime you can hit the trifecta, I'll take it.
For sure.
And I was thinking about you and Mark last week while I was watching the Bears game, and it looked like you guys got a little bit to be excited about. It looked like they're sort of kind of hitting their rhythm a little bit. I know the game wasn't close, but it was made closer by a roughing the passer call on third down, and they converted a touchdown on the very next play. But I mean, at least he was able to actually take advantage of that. Whether or not you like the call, you give the guy a new down and distance close inside the red zone on the very next play, they throw a touchdown, and you get Claypool. And against that defense, I'm not saying they're turning a corner, but for me, if you're a Bears fan and you were looking for a reason to be optimistic on Justin Fields and that offense, they gave you one.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to scream about Chase Claypool coming to the team later. I've been pining for that. Fields has been looking a lot more solid. He's looking more himself lately, which is nice. Scrambling for those first downs on third down. He's been doing a really good job keeping the chains moving. And so as long as the Bears can continue to do that, they'll always be in good shape. They were actually in the game till late last against Dallas, even though the score wouldn't really indicate it. They obviously gave up quite a bit of points late when they were trying to make their comeback, but otherwise they were almost in it. We'll go over the Bears much more later.
Yeah. I'm glad you pulled us back on that, because I was ready to make another comment. But we got some great stuff in store for you guys today. We're going to get into our weekly breakdown. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, bang that like. And Anthony, are you ready to get into the first game?
Oh, let's do it.
Okay, so the first game we have Miami against Dallas. I'm sorry, Miami against Washington. We have a 43.5 over under. Minnesota is favored by 3.5. Anthony, how do you see this game breaking down? Give me the plays you like, because I'm going to be I'm looking forward to stealing some of your analysis here.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and break down all the individual fantasy relevant players for each team. For those of you who are new to the show, don't forget, Rob is, I guess you wouldn't forget if you were new to the show, right? Rob is the guy who covers the DFS portion, and I cover more of the season-long redraft and dynasty league portions. I do all my point breakdowns by half-point PPR. And so let's rock right into it. We got Minnesota visiting Washington this week. And on the Minnesota side of the ball, Dalvin Cook has been solid after a mediocre start to the season. The Washington Commanders have given up a moderate 4.6 yards per carry this season so far on the ground. They mostly held Taylor in check last week, which was crazy to see. But he was a little banged up, and Minnesota moves the ball a lot better than Indianapolis does. So I do expect some decent things from Dalvin Cook this week. Kirk Cousins has been a bit up and down throughout the most of the season, but he's been a solid streamer type of play. You can continue to trust him there. The Manders don't get passed on very often, as often as most, but they do give up quite a decent amount when they are passed on. Justin Jefferson is his touchdown drought has been continuing after week one. I know it's been painful to see, but thankfully the monster's going to do what the monster's going to do. Oh my goodness, he still goes off and gets you a ton of points every week. Go ahead and trust him in your lineups, of course. Adam Thielen has been borderline usable, but he's really just kind of a shell of what he once was. If you're using him, you got to hope for a touchdown in this one. Not super likely to get it. And then we got to go over our trade boy, TJ Hawkinson at tight end. The Vikings gave up a second-round pick plus to get this guy. And so he's going to be the big question mark. I don't think you're going to see too much relevance out of him this weekend. You're going to give him some time to adjust to the game. But that brings us to the guy that he's kicking to the curb. Now, Seth, our producer, can you roll that burial music for us, please? You got that soundbite? We don't have that yet? We're working. Okay, we're working. Well, while we work on that, I want to give a little tribute here to the death of Irv Smith Jr. for fantasy football purposes. Sorry, Big Irv. We were with you, man. We saw the talent. We were with you through the injuries. We wanted to see you hit it big. It just didn't happen. TJ Hawkinson come to town. All but irrelevant. Sorry, buddy. Best of luck. Godspeed, man.
Yeah. His time effectively in Minnesota is over.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. And so we'll see what happens with him. Maybe he catches on somewhere else. But for now, off to the fantasy graveyard. On the other side of the ball, Washington's offense. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson have been splitting carries, as we know. Color me crazy, but are the Commanders actually treating Gibson like an actual third down running back? If they're going to start giving Gibson something like old school Sproles usage, I'm in. He's been way more efficient this way. He's looking like a much better back. Back-to-back weeks with solid totals and a touchdown. Significantly better efficiency. Vikings do have a solid run defense, but I would still use him as a flex play. I'd like to see where this goes. Tyler Heineke at quarterback. Is he streamable? Actually, yes. Vikings giving up something like an astounding 7.7 yards per attempt. That's the second worst in the league from a defense that's on a team that's 6-1. I mean, these guys have been crazy good this season. Terry McLaurin, only 2 games, has been sub double-digit fantasy points this season. So he's been looking solid all year. Continue to dial him up in this game. Curtis Samuel has also been getting a solid baseline because of his utilization. And he has the talent to break one in any random game. So you might as well keep him in your lineups. Jahan Dotson has still been remaining on the sideline with a hamstring injury. I'm not sure how many fantasy starters you can squeeze out of this game from the Washington side of the ball. So you might as well, even if he goes, I would keep Dotson in your benches. Still dealing with that hammy, soft tissue injuries, always tricky. Logan Thomas, he hasn't gotten much done in his first week back from his soft tissue injury, but he will have the opportunity to get some production here against Minnesota. Probably not a huge piece of a very big pie, so I'd kind of like to wait to see him do something this season before really rolling him into our lineups. But don't forget, Logan Thomas has been one of the better tight ends in the NFL when healthy. The spotlight of this game, I'd like to say Justin Jefferson would take over this game, but in all honesty, I would love to see 2 touchdowns out of him. I really would. But this game just has a feeling to me of a Dalvin Cook game with Madison actually getting a surprising, amount of workload here, maybe surpassing low double-digit fantasy points, maybe a good flex play here. I feel like Minnesota might try to run Washington into the ground in this one. What do you think, Rob?
I think that from a DFS perspective, I think this is the sneaky shootout game of the day. If you're betting the game, I would definitely bet the over, provided there isn't any torrential downpour. I think that I'm with you on the Jefferson play. I do see 2 touchdowns for him. If you're playing Cook in DFS, he's $7,800. And when you start reaching up to the 8,000, when you start getting that far up in salary, he just doesn't get the ball enough for me. He's only had 3 games where this season where he's had 20 carries, and that's 20 right on the nose. He only has 17 catches on the year, so he just doesn't. He's not used, and he's not used enough for me. He does have, obviously, he's got breakout potential, but Washington has been really decent against the run this season. So I'm a Justin Jefferson guy on this one. His price went down $500 from last week, so he's firmly in play for me. Especially just given that touchdown drop. When I'm playing a guy, I like to see, because obviously, just given the probability, if they score last week, they're not going to score every single week. And just given, just given the drought, you're looking for a decent amount of positive regression as far as him getting in the end zone. And it's not like they don't throw the ball, and he's averaging 12 yards average depth of target. So That's one of the tops in the league. So he's definitely a guy that's really high up on my draft board come Sunday. As it relates to Washington, is probably one of my top teams, if you will, from a DFS standpoint. I love Heineke. And is it Heineke or Heineke? What are you getting there, Anthony?
I think it's Heineke.
Heineke. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I like Heineke a lot.
Right.
Just given his price at 5.4 K, and given how he looked last week against the Colts, he threw 279 yards. Minnesota's defense is much softer than that. I also love the combination coming back with him and stacking him with McLaurin. Over the past 2 weeks, he's gotten 8 targets. He's had his best 2 yardage back-to-back games, and he was doing that last year. When Heineke took over last year, him and McLaurin, he seems to favor him. And I think that you can definitely, if like I'm playing him, and I like to see and at that price point, he's coming in at 5.9K. So he's not breaking the actual bank. He's averaging 11 yards, almost 12 yards per target. That's the type of depth you're looking for when you start, because fantasy football is all about touchdowns. And so if you're looking for a guy at a decent price point that can break the slate, I think that this is the game that could possibly do it. There's another game that I feel that way about too, but this one definitely there. And we also know that Minnesota, and another thing that you're looking for is almost similar to the Lions and the Dolphin game last week. You're just looking for guys, that can push back and forth. You don't want this 21-0. You don't want guys. You don't want that. Like what happened against Baltimore and the Dolphins. That's really a rarity for a team to come back like that by halftime. You want that back and forth. You want what we saw in the Lions and in the Dolphin game last week. This game has the potential to do that, and I don't think that anybody's stopping anybody. So the running game for Washington, I think, is an avoid. Gibson saw 36% of the snaps. Robinson saw 24% of the snaps. It's just that's not anything that you're looking for. I don't care what their prices are. They're 5.5K and 5.4 respectively. You could go Curtis Samuel if you wanted to, but his targets per game have been boosted by what he did over the first 3 weeks. So just a review, I'm a Justin Jefferson guy in this one. I also like Kirk Cousins at 6.2K. I think you can definitely use him. And I love the stack between Heineke at 5.4K. He just allows you to work so many other nice plays in there, like a Justin Jefferson. If you can stack that game, you bring in, so a building block, if you will, and you can do this. I believe Heineke is cashable. You can play him in cash games and tournaments. You go Heineke, 5.4K. You go McLaurin, 5.9K, and you can bring that back with Justin Jefferson. I think you got the foundation for a really good Sunday.
That's a really good smash, man. You're really making me want to play DFS. Let me ask you, though, with Chase Young coming back off IR, if he goes this weekend, does that concern you at all?
No, just because I don't. You're talking about Chase, the defensive end for the Redskins.
Yeah, Commanders. Yeah.
Commanders. Yes. Sorry, the Commanders. The Manders. Right. No, not at all, man. One guy is. Unless his name is LT. Probably not, and I understand that, he's a pretty good pass rusher, man, but I don't care about sacks. All I care about is them getting the ball down the field. So I don't think he's enough to affect what I need. And, so basically what you need, I talk about this all the time, and I'm going to talk about this throughout the show, is you're looking for 4X. That's what you're looking for. I think, and crazy as I may sound, I think that this is a blow-up game for Justin Jefferson. He's on Pro Football Focus. He's looking at 13 snaps against Rashad Wildgoose. That's a 92 rating. That's one of the best matchups. That's one of the best matchups on Sunday. And he's also got another 15 against Kyle Fuller, which is at a 70 rating, which is a really decent rating. But you also are looking at who the receiver is. You're looking at Justin Jefferson's a pretty good matchup almost against
anybody.
Yeah. So you couple that with the fact, who the actual receiver is, what his ability is, what his routes look like, who's throwing him the ball. So who you're in business with. We're in business with Kirk Cousins. He obviously likes Kirk Cousins is a part of the game. So for me,
for sure,
I like plays a little bit lower, right, than the 7.8K for Dalvin Cook. I love Kirk Cousins' price point. I love Heineke's price point a lot better. I don't care if they win the game. I'm looking for 20 points out of him. I think he can get it to me.
Man, I'm you know what? I'm dialing up a DFS lineup this weekend, and I'm building it around Justin Jefferson.
Oh no, you were dialing one up regardless because I was going to ask you for one. I'm going to ask you for one every week.
Oh yeah, looks like hey, we got a question here. Can you see the question?
Yeah, so we got one from Mark saying, should he stay with Jimmy G? Go ahead, Anthony, take that one.
Oh, well, Jimmy G, that's kind of an interesting question. I assume you're talking about redraft league. I'm just going to make that assumption. The season-long play. With Jimmy G, I think he's a streamer in that category. And there's a ton of streamers. So Tyler Heineke is one we just talked about. You can probably pick him up off the waiver wire. Off the waiver wire, there's guys like Justin Fields going against Miami that you can start with his rushing yards. I mean, the rushing yards at the quarterback position is kind of like a cheat code, right? There's a ton of guys on the waiver wire that you could probably stream that I would probably pick above Jimmy G. He's good if you really like the rest of your lineup and you just want a quarterback that'll get you guaranteed baseline minimum points, sure, roll with Jimmy G. If you're looking for somebody with upside, then yeah, I'm probably going to roll with the Fields. I mean, you got Jared Goff going against Green Bay. You could probably even squeeze that out in a play. Marcus Mariota, if he decides to use his legs this week against the Chargers, that could be an interesting play. There's a ton on the waiver wire. I mean, see if someone dropped Aaron Rodgers going against Detroit. I mean, that would be a smash, So just see what's available on your wire. It's always going to be league dependent on what's going on.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to that is just simply when they got Christian McCaffrey, I just think things got a little bit different. You saw Christian McCaffrey catch a touchdown last week. Obviously, he pulled the hat trick, throwing, catching, and receiving. No, just throwing, rushing, and receiving. Yeah. I said throwing. Anyway, point is the trifecta. So I think that all those dump offs, all of those, and I'm familiar with his league scoring. All those little first down points that you can pick up via Christian McCaffrey. I just think, and then when you get Debo back, and obviously Ayuk has been a nice surprise. Put together, I believe, the last 3 weeks has been in the end zone. I think that Jimmy G is the brand of Jimmy G. I think has suffered a little bit, but his production has been definitely on the rise. And I don't think when the young boy they forgot his name. That's how
Trey Lance. He won't be back till next year.
But I don't think he gets that job back. I don't know how you give it to him. I mean, not the way that Jimmy's playing. So real football, obviously he's playing real football, but from a fantasy perspective, I just think with the addition of Christian McCaffrey and how he's been used over since his whole entire career, I think that there's a little bit more meat on the bone to be had with Jimmy G than there was before he got there.
For sure.
So all right. So you want to move on to Chargers Atlanta?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. So the next game is the Chargers in Atlanta, 49.5 over under. Chargers favored by 3. Anthony, give me some more plays I can steal from you.
All right, so looking at the Chargers offense, so Eckler leading the way at running back, right? He's been a monster. Just be quiet and enjoy the show, right? Justin Herbert at quarterback, look, he's not been doing what you drafted him to be so far this season. I'll say this. They've had a bye week. He's thrown the ball 108 times in his last 2 games, his last 2 times out. Big things are coming. Big things are coming, and it could easily start here this week against Atlanta. This could definitely be a get-right game. Might not be, but it's got to start somewhere. Keenan Allen is getting more and more healthy, and I'll tell you what. Going into the receivers, I'm big on Josh Palmer this week. I'm really big on Josh Palmer. With Mike Williams injured, he's out several weeks with the ankle. Allen, we don't really know the status of his health. Hopefully he's back. That would be a big boon to Justin Herbert. But either way, Josh Palmer's cleared the concussion protocol. He's wheels up. Dial him up. Get him in your lineups everywhere you can. I don't know what his price tag is for DFS. And then Gerald Everett as well over at the tight end position. Donald Parham is back now, but I still think that Everett is the backbone of this offense. He's the guy that they lean on when they need him. Gerald Everett, the tight end.
You think he's the backbone of the offense?
Oh yeah, they lean on him hard when they need him. When they need something done, they go to Everett for sure. He's a good possession type tight end. They're going to use him in this game against Atlanta, definitely. Atlanta's, you can put some points on them, but they're not just going to give it to you either. And then looking at their side of the ball, that backfield, ooh, CP's back, baby. Cordero Patterson is back. He's practicing. He's off IR. So long Caleb Huntley, and probably so long Tyler Algier, right? Look, we don't know what Cordero Patterson's workload is going to be this game. His first week back, right? So you might be able to squeeze one more matchup out of Algier or Huntley as you were rolling them out there. But Cordero Patterson is back, and if he gets his workload, he's going to take over this game. The Chargers are awful at run defense. Mariota, he threw for a season high 253 yards last week. I don't expect a repeat performance. The Chargers' pass defense is where they get you, and so you want to run on this team. And so I definitely think that the Falcons are going to go back to their old recipe of run, and run some more. Forget about passing. Drake London, sorry, buddy. Kyle Pitts, sorry. They're just probably not going to work out this week. Pitts with 9 targets last week. I don't expect to see that again this week. Maybe in another game, but not this week. So the spotlight of this game, I think Big Herbs will have a healthy game here, but I'm really looking at Austin Eckler to take over and dominate this one. Luckily, his passes out of the backfield, that kind of spreads the fantasy wealth a little bit, and so Herbert could actually see some increased production due to that as well, because Eckler does like to catch the ball coming out of that backfield. How do you break this one down, bud?
When I was looking at this game, initially I was favoring Herbert. Then I got a chance to really dig into the numbers just a little bit. And again, we're looking for 4x just to cash. You really want to be at 5x to be at the top, get close to the top. You want to be top, 40, 30.
I've heard you mention that twice now. Can you explain what the 4x and 5x is?
So the 4x, 5x is 4x the salary. So Justin Herbert is 7.2K, 7,200. And if you've never played daily fantasy football before, you get a salary, you get a budget of 50K. And you have to draft 8 players, and you divide that salary up. The guys are priced obviously at various different numbers. The defenses are the most expensive defense you'll probably pay for is around 4,000, and the skill position players can range anywhere from 8,000, 9,000. I've seen high as 9. I believe one time McCaffrey got close to the $10,000 range. That's normally the highest you'll see, which is obviously close to 20% of your budget there. But anyway, so when you get a guy like, whatever you get, I'm normally aiming for, and that customarily speaking, you're aiming for 4 times whatever his salary number is. So for Herbert, if he's 7.2K, obviously you're looking for somewhere around 28.8 points, somewhere around close to, might as well round it up to 29 points. And he's only come close to that back in week 2. He had 27 points. So we're basically asking him to have the best game of his of the year so far. Now the Falcons secondary is the secondary to do that against. They've given up the most yards, they've given up the most catches, and the second most touchdowns of any team in the league. They're giving up the most yards and catches, touchdowns, obviously, and they're the second most. So there's direct correlation there. So this is the team to do it against. And obviously, you don't have to worry about the run game too much over the past 4 weeks. You got Eckler averaging close to 11 targets a game. So a large part of his production, half of it precisely, is coming through the air. He's averaging around 50 yards on the ground and 50 yards through the air. So you don't necessarily have to worry about the run game poaching some production from Herbert because of the way that they structure their offense. So Herbert you can get to, and you can get to Eckler too, but in order to have him pay off, he's got to be close to 36 points a game. That's just a little bit rich for me. I like other plays out there like Travis Etienne a little bit better, which we'll get to a little later. I like guys like him a little bit better than that 8.8K price tag. If you can get to him, if you can structure your lineup in a way that you can fit that salary in, I think he's an awesome play. I really do. Not from an on the ground standpoint, but mostly through the air and just how they use him, because the Falcons do have a pretty decent rush defense. But the plays that I like in this game, which you already hit on, Josh Palmer 2 weeks ago before he came down with the concussion, he had 12 targets, and Mike Williams played the whole game. Now you got Mike Williams out, and Keenan Allen didn't even practice today. And so even if he does play, I believe he'll be on a strict pitch count. Palmer's going to be the guy who is going to be peppered with targets. Palmer and Everett. And Everett sort of takes the place of that Hockenson spot on DK. They have similar targets, similar depth of target. Hawkinson's not available this week due to the trade, so he's not in the player pool. So you can slide for a similar salary. Everett is 4.8K. You can slide him right on in there, and just given the lack of passing options, Everett's going to be squarely in play, and Palmer's squarely in play at 5.2K. He's a home run for me, a home run. So in this matchup, so I'm sorry. Let's flip to the Falcons side. The Falcons side of this, there's not really a whole lot that I like, but we have seen where when the offense presses the Falcons, they do respond. Mariota will make throws if he's given time. And I think this could be a spot. Drake London's salary has dropped all the way down to 4.9K. He's not a player that I'm looking at, but if Chargers can put up, a nice number, 14, you can get the game script going in your favor, at least from a fantasy football standpoint, not from a real team standpoint. But if you've got Drake London, that's just what you're looking for. And I think that the Chargers can obviously press the button on that. I believe they passed the third most out of any team. Now they pass actually a little bit less on the road, coming in at 59%. They passed 70% at home. So I don't know what correlation you would draw from that. Do with those numbers what you will. But if you must play the Falcons, the guy I will probably be looking for is Mariota, because the Chargers do give up over 6 yards a carry. We know Mariota has shown opposite of in years past, where he's looked a little bit more reluctant to run the ball. That's gone, and I'm glad. I'm just glad for him. I think that guys like, taking it back to Herbert just for a second, his production has been down. I think largely because he has been reluctant to run. He's only averaging 2 yards per game. If you compare that to, let's say, a Carson Wentz who's averaging 13 yards on the ground a game, you can see how much of a drop off that is from a guy who actually is mobile. And Burrow is averaging 16 yards a game. So his reluctancy to get outside the pocket and, make plays with his feet, I believe obviously has hurt his fantasy value. He's only averaging 19 points a game, and I think it's hurt the team a little bit from an overall productivity standpoint. So those are the plays that I like for this game. And that's how I say. So you can bet, strong that I'm going to have probably 100% of Palmer in all my lineups this coming up Sunday.
The one thing I'll add to that is don't forget about DeAndre Carter, especially if Keenan Allen doesn't go. Take a flyer on him somewhere.
Yeah, you can do that. You can definitely take a flyer on him. The problem is, though, I believe he had 6 targets for negative yards last week. That probably won't happen again, especially against the Falcons. And another
you're missing both Allen and Williams, though.
Yeah. Well, and one more small. They were missing them last week. Keenan Allen didn't finish that game.
Hey, he barely played. Yeah, you're right.
So, but I think, and the Falcons are the second worst against tight ends as well. So there's that. So we got a question here. Should I start Dante Pettis? Anthony?
No. Unless you're trying to start like 6 wide receivers in your lineup, I don't know how deep your league is, No, with Chase Claypool coming to town, look, we probably won't see too much of Chase Claypool involved in this week, right? You will see him a little bit. I expect the Bears to be a little run heavy against Miami. David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert are going to get a ton of carries. Justin Fields is obviously going to keep it a ton himself. Darnell Mooney's going to get his share. Cole Kmet will probably get a few. Beyond that, Pettis might get a handful of targets. N'Keal Harry's been getting a little bit more involved. They're going to want to reward him for all the run blocking he's been doing. I think that would be a heck of a deep play.
Is Kadarius Toney in play now that he's in Kansas City? I'll start with this one. I picked him up yesterday, and I picked him up strictly as a streamer, but they gave up, I believe, a 4th round pick for him, a 4-4 third. And I don't think you give up that type of draft capital if you're not planning on using him. And I think they do want to bring him in. They don't have a guy who plays that Tyreek Hill role, and I think they're looking for it. And Kadarius Toney has that kind of talent. So I took him for the upside. I don't know what the story was with the Giants. It just obviously it never fit. I'm just taking it. I took Kadarius Toney strictly for the upside. Is he in play? Yeah, he's in play for me. I'm not starting him this week, but I don't think you would give up a draft pick that high without a plan to try to see if you can work him into the offense. And I've read where they say that he's not going to jump Van Scantling, he's not going to jump Juju, and obviously Mecole. They're saying that their roles are firmly entrenched. But I don't think that at all. I mean, we've had Juju have 1 or 2 good games. And nobody's done enough to, if Kadarius goes out there and he has some big blow up game, they're going to try to get a little bit more of that. And they haven't had that. The only consistent offensive weapon they've had this whole year has been obviously Kelsey. So I think there's a lot of upside. Obviously, I'm not going to take a guy like that to start him. I have some pretty decent receivers. So I just took him strictly for the boom, if you will, the boom prospect. How do you see it, Anthony?
Mostly the same. Honestly, mostly the same. So dynasty purposes, I'm super excited about Kadarius Toney. Oh my God. The guy is lightning in a bottle. I'm super stoked. Season long this season, probably not. Definitely not starting him this week, not in season long. If you want to use him in DFS the rest of the season, I don't know what his price tag is going into this week. He could be definitely a good DFS play, but he's going to be very boom or bust this season specifically. It's really the next year or two that I'm looking forward to with him. When it comes to Kadarius Toney, he's going to get a certain amount of targets at some point once he gets acclimated to the offense. They're going to make sure that he gets a minimum, but he's going to be a very boomer bust player on that offense. And the best case scenario, we'll see him come online in like maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Man, I watched him a lot at Florida, and I just
He's nuts.
If you think Tyreek Hill, think Lake Seastrunk, think if you want to go back a couple of years, you think Dante, what's my man from the kick returner that was in Kansas City, Dante Hall. Obviously Tyreek Hill on the top side of that. You think just super explosive, I watched him at Florida. Like, this kid, when he gets the ball, he's got quick start and stop, just like Tyreek Hill. Or think of a Peter Warrick, a guy that can get it going real fast within 2-3 steps, and just the agility to get. I mean, he's like the cheetah part too. The question, just I think, for me, when a guy comes in and they spent the first round pick on him, and like I said, I haven't even heard anything good or bad why it didn't work. All you hear is about his hamstring. So it was really a shot in the dark for me. Obviously, another great playmaker in Kansas City is all they need. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, to me, he's like a Tariq Cohen and a Tyreek Hill, like all made into one.
Ooh, Tariq Cohen out of North Carolina A&T. All right, we have another question. It says, I traded Brady, Swift, St. Brown, Thielen for Mahomes, JT, Amari Cooper. What you think? I'm 7-1 now. My team is Mahomes, JT, Christian McCaffrey, D-Hop, Amari Cooper, Kelsey, Damian Pierce, Etienne, Lazard, James Robinson, and Juju. That's a lot. I think you did fine. If you picked up Mahomes, so that's better than Brady. Who is JT? Who is that?
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor? Oh, John. Yeah, you made out like a bandit. You made out like a bandit. St. Brown, he came back, I believe, against Dallas. They said he was out due to a concussion. Then they came back in the middle of the week, said it wasn't a concussion. I believe he had a pretty decent amount of targets last week, but just not a whole lot of production there. I think if you picked up Jonathan Taylor, you picked up Mahomes, and you got Lazard, Etienne. No, you gonna win your league. I hope this is however much the prize is, you can go ahead and put that in your Christmas money. I mean, that's What do you think, Ant?
I mean, I'm pretty much on the same page. Brady's just about left for dead. Thielen's just about left, borderline almost there. Mahomes has been great. Jonathan Taylor, it's been unfortunate. He's been banged up. It's been a bad offense. You don't see a lot of scoring opportunities, but he's still one of the most talented backs in the league. He could turn it around at any point in time. So you do have that upside at least. Amari Cooper's been great. The only thing I would say about your team is maybe try to move J-Rob if you can get some good value for him. With the Jets having the record that they do, having some of that momentum, Michael Carter having a bad week last week with, being J-Rob's first week on the team, somebody might be high on him and think that they can get some good production out of J-Rob. I would say maybe move him if you can get some good talent for that. But otherwise, yeah, you're sitting pretty, man. Good luck and enjoy that title.
Yeah, and I would say pay close attention to Jonathan Taylor. I watched that game last week. He was in and out of the lineup getting his ankle retaped. He missed a couple of carries and Deion Jackson really is it Deion Jackson? He looks really explosive.
Yeah.
So,
definitely handcuff him.
Yeah, if you can get, maybe, I don't know, maybe so you already got Etienne, you got Pierce. Man, you have Christian McCaffrey, and you can't even beef up your running backs. So, but anyway, speaking of Tom Brady, that brings us to our last game. We have Los Angeles Rams. We got a rematch of the NFC Championship. We got the Los Angeles Rams going up against Tampa Bay. Two teams, I believe, that are beneath 500, over under 42.5. Tampa favored by 3. This don't feel like it did a few months ago, do it, man?
How far have we fallen? Oh my goodness. This went from like two must-watch offenses to like two. I don't want to watch this game, man. Like, this is bad.
It's rough, man. Yeah, when I was breaking this game down, I was like, why are we doing this? And then I remember you picked this game. I was like, oh.
No, I picked the Chargers one. You picked this game.
I picked this game. No, you trying to pull the Jedi mind trick.
No, I picked the Chargers Atlanta game. I did.
And I think we have proof of who picked it. So even if you could prove that I picked it, I'm still going to deny it.
Put the text on the screen.
I'm still going to deny it.
Get a producer to show you who's right.
I'm going to deny it. I'm going to be like, hey, man, it's fake. Okay, who we got? We are some people to bundle so who are some people to bundle or target for J-Rob then?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, if you don't even want to mess with JT, like we were just talking about, you can bundle JT and J-Rob for like, I don't know, McCaffrey.
He's got McCaffrey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got McCaffrey.
I mean, I'm like, how you gonna improve? He's got Etienne. He's got. Oh, man, okay.
Go for Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. See if the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt owner will give you both.
I would go after Eckler first. Whoever got
Eckler, yeah, Eckler's another good one. Yeah, there's Dalvin Cook is another good one. Yeah, there's some good ones.
All right, so we were breaking down we were starting to break down the I guess the old guard. They've become the old guard there because in their defense, and we can get to breaking it down. Brady has looked better as of late. Go ahead and let us know, what did you find in this game, if anything, to be excited about?
Oh, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp. Yeah, that you know what? I'm just gonna leave it. That you just saved me a ton of time. I'm just gonna leave it at there for the Rams side of the ball. I don't even want to go over anything else. Cooper Kupp. That's about it. I think he did practice today. I think they said that he avoided some major injuries. So Cooper Kupp should be okay to go. Should be healthy. Should be dialed in come Sunday. The only other thing is on the other side of the ball, I would say Chris Godwin. Mike Evans has been high volume skill position players that are talented tend to be good, right? And Mike Evans has been just that. The problem is I just don't trust Brady. You got a strong defense on the Rams side of the ball. You got Jalen Ramsey. I kind of like Chris Godwin to get soak up a lot of targets in this one, like he's been doing, and he might be the sneaky play. He might actually overproduce Mike Evans in this one. So that would be the only the plays that I'm really looking to slam home. But I mean, if you have Leonard Fournette, if you have Mike Evans, it's tough not to roll them out. If you got better options for better matchups and things like that, I'd probably roll with that. But otherwise, one rule for fantasy football: start your studs. If they've been great, keep them in there.
Yeah. I was looking at this game, and Obviously, you go to the Cooper Kupp side where you go, okay, this is a guy who produces at a high level every single week. The problem is in DFS, these guys have salaries, and
The price tags.
he's
That
$100.
Forex thing you were talking about.
Yes, he's $100 away from $9,000, which means again we're talking about that 4x, that 4 times the salary. He's got to score 36 points, which he's totally capable of doing. But the Bucs have a terrific defense, not a terrific defense, but the Bucs have a pretty good defense. And there's other plays, one that we hit on earlier that's cheaper in Justin Jefferson. There's Hopkins, who's around who's almost $1,500 cheaper than he is in a much better matchup that I would like to go in a tournament. Let's say the Millionaire Maker that they have on DraftKings. He'll probably go less than 10% on just due to those reasons. So he's a great leverage play if he goes off. But that's the only guy that I would look to. I mean, you got Stafford, who has thrown 7 touchdowns this year, 8 interceptions, and 3 of those touchdowns came in one game against the Falcons. So he hasn't thrown multiple touchdowns in any other game. He's been 1 touchdown or nothing, since that game. So Stafford's a guy that I would avoid. He's coming in at 5.6K, so he's not breaking the bank. Maybe you do get an old school slugfest where the offenses decide to wake up, and that happens from time to time, and then you'll have ultimate leverage. I do like the Tampa side of this matchup a lot. I do like Brady as a sneaky play. He's coming in at 6K. He's averaging, I believe, close to 340 yards passing per game over his last 5 games. The problem is just the touchdowns haven't been there. But we do know when you're throwing the ball around that much, the touchdowns will come. So you do have, that positive regression to look for, particularly, and I think you can get it in this matchup. Mike Evans, guy averaging close to 10 targets. You've got Chris Godwin has 36 targets over the past 3 games. So and he hadn't scored a touchdown all year. So that drought's got to be coming to an end soon with a player with his ability and that type of volume. This could be the game where that happens. The total isn't that high. Obviously, once one of the lower ones on the slate, it's 42.5. And you could, the Rams, they're giving up 4.5 a carry as well. So Leonard Fournette is in play. He's not a guy that I'm looking to get much of. But I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers nobody's probably going to play them much this weekend. So if you're looking to get some leverage on a field where it's got close to 300,000 players like the Millionaire Maker has, I think this is a wonderful alternative play where there's not a lot of there's going to be a lot of leverage on the play, not a lot of ownership on these guys. So for my money, I'll probably play this version of a stack somewhere. It may not be in the Millionaire Maker, maybe in some of the smaller contests, but I will have a piece of these guys somewhere.
Yeah, the one thing I would add is that the Bucs defense, though it is just as good as the Rams, really. They're beleaguered at this point. They are beaten up by injuries this season so far, and so that alone could give you a surprise from the Rams' offensive side of the ball, making, I would say, probably Allen Robinson maybe your dark horse candidate.
Super dark horse,
but super possible. I mean, with Cooper nursing an injury and the banged up Bucs defense, I could see the path.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a pathway to get there. I think he's upped his target total to 5 per game over the past 2 games. So he seems to be coming on a little bit. Like, and 5 doesn't sound like a lot.
Finding his groove a little bit, maybe starting to crawl.
And you would think that it should be plenty of room for him to eat with the safety and everybody rolling over the Cooper side. But the problem, there is a problem though here, and the run game has been just awful. I think maybe they got rid of Sony Michel a little too soon. I don't know what has been. I mean, Rivers out carried Henderson last week, and nobody saw that coming. That was a practice squad guy. Cam Akers is whatever, they got their irreconcilable differences. They're going through a divorce, so you don't have any threat of a run game with Cooper Kupp on one side and Allen Robinson, who's had some good years, obviously in Jacksonville, didn't rekindle it for whatever reason. I'm sure you can speak on why it didn't work as well in Chicago. But I mean, I think he's still got some gas left in the tank. Or do you think they're missing Odell Beckham?
Kind of both, right? I think I mentioned this in one of our previous podcasts. If you want to check me on there, feel free to go back and give one of those a view. But the thing about it is Matt Stafford doesn't really like to throw into tight windows, and Allen Robinson is a contested catch kind of receiver. This is why I didn't really understand the Rams for going on OBJ, who looked great in the Super Bowl. Just give him some time to rest up a bit, you know. But Allen Robinson is a contested catch kind of receiver. And Matt Stafford likes the guys who get separation, hence why Cooper Kupp is so ridiculous. And so, OBJ is more of that type. And it just didn't make a lot of sense, but it does seem like the trust is starting to develop between Stafford and Robinson a little bit. Once he just starts throwing the ball to Robinson just to go get it, I think that's when you're going to see him show off some of that gas that he's got left in the tank.
Yeah. So we're about to get into our start and sits for Anthony. But before we do, please do not forget to subscribe, bang that like button. It'll help us out a lot. We are Stat Lines Matter. We put out a podcast normally once a week on Wednesdays. We're available on all platforms. That's YouTube, that's Spotify, that's Apple Podcasts. Follow us at our socials at Stat Lines Matter on Facebook, Instagram, anywhere. There's on TikTok. We're there. So please give us a follow. We are down one of our guys tonight, Mr. Mark Stewart. He will be back very soon. Just trying to give you guys an overall layout of kind of what you'll be seeing going forward. There are normally 3 of us, and the podcast, again, is out weekly, and we put out new content daily on Instagram. Anthony, break down your starts and sits for this
Absolutely. Week. Before I do also want to remind you guys, don't forget to write into the show, or you can actually call in too. We do have a hotline number that you can call into, leave a voicemail, ask a voicemail question. We'll play it on the show. We'll answer it on the show. If you want to write us a question, you got our email that you can email us at statlinesmatter@gmail.com. We'll answer it. So the goal, what we're trying to do is get enough questions built up in the mailbag. And if we do, by the time before the Sunday game starts, I'm trying to do a mailbag segment on like Saturday nights or something like that. So you ask us the questions, we're going to make sure they get answered. All right. Make sure everybody writes in. So going into the starts. So at the quarterback position, I'm just going to say this. Start Aaron Rodgers this week. Just leaving it at that. Just play him. I know it's been terrible. Play him. Running back position, Travis Etienne versus Las Vegas. Look, if you don't know by now, that you better ask somebody. Travis Etienne is a freaking monster. Okay. Wide receiver position, Joshua Palmer at Atlanta. You heard us talking about it earlier. I think he's going to be a slam dunk play this week. With Mikey Williams out, Big Herbs is still going to need to sling it and take some shots here. Josh Palmer is going to be his go-to guy, especially with Keenan Allen a little bit banged up still. Tight end streamer for the week. Give me Bob Tonyan. Big Bob Tonyan going against the Detroit Lions, one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Aaron Rodgers needs to trust somebody. Allen Lazard is looking like he's trending towards playing this week. So that might be big too. Going over to the sits for the week. Analytics say to start Trevor Lawrence this week. I'm going to say don't. I'm going to walk out on a limb here, and it's a gut feeling. This is nothing but a gut call. All the analytics, including my own, point to playing Trevor Lawrence this week. My gut tells me not to. So I'm going to tell you, don't do it. Yell at me next week. Don't forget to write into the show and call in. We just gave you the info for that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the running back that I'm looking at benching this week. Look, I don't see the Chiefs passing a lot in this game. You got a 3-headed monster back there. Usually whichever running back gets the start is the one that's going to get a touchdown and you can kind of lean on. I'm going to say go ahead and stash the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air over here. I think maybe late in the game we might see some more running action, and that tells me that it's going to be Isaiah Pacheco. DJ Moore has been on fire recently. It's going to be a tough call to sit DJ Moore, right? I'm going to say the fire gets doused over in Cincy this week. And then finally, the tight end that I'm going to tell you to sit, Kyle Pitts. We talked about it earlier in the game with Atlanta versus the Chargers. Finally last week we saw the monster that this fantasy community has been waiting to see, that the fantasy community needs. Unfortunately, Atlanta just will not commit to the pass. Please don't expect them to. They're going to go back to the run this game.
Okay. Yeah, you stole my thunder a little bit, but I'm gonna give you my 3 plays. My first play is actually Tyler Boyd, 6.3K. I love the what he was doing in the first couple of weeks of the season anyway was great. And he's a guy he's a big play receiver. The routes that they have him run generally have him going 10 to 15 yards. He's catching the ball, and he's been a great run after the catch guy. And he's also a very physical receiver. So generally the first guy doesn't normally get him down if he has a chance to see him coming. So I like Tyler Boyd a ton this week. Obviously, again, with Jamar Chase down, it's kind of like the reason why we like, not even kind of a reason, it's the reason why we like Palmer so much. But given Tyler Boyd's role in that offense and what the expectation is for him and Higgins to do, I like him a lot at 6.3K. I like Higgins too, but Higgins is $1,000 more, so that's why I'm going towards Boyd. And I also just like his function in the offense, the routes that they have him run. And also just a quick note. The Panthers defense have given up 117 catches on the year. That's second most to the Falcons. So you can start basically all of your flankers or your receivers with the Bengals with confidence this week. If you were wondering about the Higgins play, if you wanted to play him, he's totally fine. My second guy would be Travis Etienne. Again, Thunder stolen a little bit, but he's the reason why I don't like Dalvin Cook as much. He's coming in at 6.3K. Last week he had 24 carries. That's a number you just don't see very often in the NFL these days. And they lost the game, and he still ran the ball 24 times. The week before that, I believe he ran 14 times, but he still had back-to-back 100-yard games. So this is a guy, and yes, the Raiders are giving up less than 4 yards per carry, but they've given up 52 catches to the running back position. And Travis Etienne obviously is a guy who catches the ball coming out the backfield. That was his role when James Robinson was there. So the production will be there. I would dare say he's the focal point of the offense. It's certainly not Christian Kirk. So I think you can start him with confidence. And my last play is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, look, they going up to Ford Field. Ford Field is code for friend of the quarterback. Every quarterback that has gone up there has had a fantastic game. I think Aaron Rodgers probably has his best game of the season. They're giving up the most points per game. They give up the most yards. They give up the most yards per game at 421, most points per game at 32 points a game. I believe Aaron Rodgers, you can start everybody. You can start your running backs. But Aaron Rodgers on DFS at 5.9K. The only reason I didn't pick a receiver is because I just don't know who's going to get the volume. I mean, Aaron Rodgers could spread that around. You heard Alan Lazard may be coming back. That may be a deep sleeper play in a tournament. In a salary saver. So you got Dubes, Romeo Dubes. So I can't say where the target share is going to go, but I can definitely tell you who's throwing the ball, and that would be Aaron Rodgers. So those are my 3 DFS picks for the week. I hope they make you some cash. Anthony, are you ready for the Bears corner?
Oh, let's do some hometown corner, baby. I am so excited. All right, so this week we got Miami. We're at home. We got Miami coming to town, and we got Penguins and Cheetahs and Goosikis. Oh, my. As excited as I am about Miami coming to town, because this is going to be one fun show to watch with Tua been lighting it up this season, I got to say one thing. I am far more excited about Chase Claypool. We got him! I'm so happy. I've been calling for it and pining for it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Oh, my goodness. I'm excited. Now, I don't know if he's going to do much in this game, guys. I really wouldn't expect it, right? It's his first week with the team, but this is exciting. We got a 6'4", 238-pound receiver who, if I'm not mistaken, ran a 4.38 40. I mean, this guy can fly. He's a freight train that can fly. All right, he's a contested catch monster. Great target for Fields when he needs to throw that ball up because his accuracy's not been great. He's got the route runner with Mooney. He's got the contested catch guy with Claypool now. This is fantastic. This is great. You got Komet and Claypool reunited, and they're feeling so good. Oh, my goodness. Okay, sorry. I needed to get that out there. I needed to vent a little bit. David Montgomery, I think, and Khalil Herbert are really going to dominate this game. Justin Fields, I see it running the ball a lot. This is going to be another big running game for the Bears. Don't get me confused. As excited as I am about the arrival, the passing game, it's going to need a minute to simmer. They're not going to get that lit up right away. They're going to maintain being a running team. Expect that move. Forget that we did also sell off two of our captains on defense to at this point in the season. And so, with with Tua, as much as he can sling it, with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, as much as they could break it, with Raheem Mostert, as well as he's been doing against a bad run defense to begin with, this one can get out of control real quick. I do see, Fields trying to catch up, but he's probably going to be using his legs more than his arm, to be honest with you. And so I wouldn't bank too much on the Bears passing game just yet, even with the addition of Claypool. But it should still be a fun one to watch. This one I'm actually looking forward to. We're going to get our butts kicked, but I'm really looking forward to
it. I haven't heard it put that way before. We're gonna get okay. I have a question for you, Anthony. Now you asked me, what my confidence level was with Cousins, given that Chase Young was going to be back. Well, now that the Dolphins have just added Bradley Chubb, are you still optimistic about Fields and the way that he'll be able to perform this coming up week?
Do you think Bradley Chubb's better than Micah Parsons?
I'm just asking. I mean, they added a number one pass rusher. So I'm.
Yeah,
I'm just,
he had
Micah Parsons
and the week before. Who did the Bears play the week before?
I think Micah Parsons was hurt.
I can't remember, but they went against good pass rushers back-to-back weeks. Fields has been really good at his Judon, the Patriots, Matthew Judon. Fields is good at. Now, look, how long is it going to work where on third down, they're just going to obviously pass the ball and Fields is going to run out of the pocket and just run for the first down? How many times is that going to keep working? I don't know. Maybe the Dolphins shut that down this week. I'm not sure. It's gonna come crashing down at some point. But for now, while it's been working, yeah, that's what I would continue to see. I would expect to continue to see, I'm not going to sit here and say Bradley Chubb scares me more than Micah Parsons or Matthew Judon. Is he going to get back there and hit Fields a lot? Sure. Yeah. But Fields gets hits a lot. He does. Yeah, he's still going to run.
Yeah. Well, that's our show for the week. Before we go, please don't forget to hit the subscribe, hit the like, follow us everywhere, subscribe to the show. We are Stat Lines Matter. You can find us on all major platforms. That's Spotify, that's YouTube, that's Apple Podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on TikTok. You can follow us on IG for new content daily. We appreciate you guys joining us this evening for another podcast. Anthony, thank you so much. I learned a lot once again from just listening to your analysis, breaking it down, bro. I have already started making mental notes about the changes I'm going to make. I thought I had it all figured out, but that's why I look forward to doing this show so I can go ahead and really get edified. So I appreciate you as usual. Mark, we appreciate you. The teams, our producer, Seth, we appreciate all you guys, man, and we look forward to seeing you guys once again next week. If these plays helped you out at all, feel free to give us an email, give us a shout-out, hit us up on our socials, and let us know it worked out for you. This is Rob Hunter for my partner Anthony and Mark Stewart, who's not with us. This is Stat Lines Matter. We'll see you next week.